Thank you for listening to this PodcastOne production. Now available on Apple Podcasts, PodcastOne, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, I'm joined by Chael Sonnen. We just got finished talking a bunch of bullshit offline, man. I'm having a hard time getting cranked up, man. I took some Alpha Brain, drank a damn Diet Red Bull. I need a good, swift kick in the ass to get me going. Chael, welcome to the show. What's going on, brother?
Man, I'm pumped, and I'm glad you're recording that. See, I love that kind of stuff. And you know what? It's funny you say that. It says sponsors aside. I take that Alpha Brain as well. You also said Diet Red Bull. That's also what I do. If I drink the sugar one, the sugar kind of brings me down a little bit. That will kick you in the ass.
Well, see, that's the same thing, dude, man. Also, man, I'm trying to watch a waistline, so, man, I can't handle all the sugar. I got to have a little bit of fucking boost, a little bit of pep in my step. And that Alpha Brain, here's the deal. And this isn't just to blow a bunch of damn smoke up one of the sponsors' ass because they're one of the sponsors of the podcast. But that honest stuff, dude, is like spraying WD-40 on my brain. It just makes me think a little bit better and makes me a little bit more aware. It helps my memory, too. So, dude, I talk about it all day long on my reads, but it works for a shoot for me. You dig it too?
100% to the point that again, yeah, it's not about the sponsorship. I take it to friends and give it to them. And a lot of them ask me for it, but I take it to them and give it to them. And then they do. They come back for more. They take the time to log into onit.com. But yes, for shoot, as we say in the business, absolutely on it. And I take it in the morning. I take that Alpha Brain in the morning with my coffee. And, man, I only need one.
No, that's the same thing with me, dude. I got two big, gigantic cups of coffee that I drink every single morning. That is my process. I take my wife her cup, but then I take my one Alpha Brain thing. Now, my wife is one of those people, she won't take shit. You know, she'll say, like, she'll have a headache or something. She'll say, hey, do you think it's okay if I take an Aleve on an empty stomach? And I'm like, dude, I come from the business of pro wrestling, okay? I'm damn near a pharmacologist. So I was like, yeah, honey, I think an Aleve on an empty stomach is going to be just fine. So, dude, I take my Alpha Brain, 2 cups of coffee, get up to spinning, and it helps me clear the cobwebs out and get me going on my morning process. Hey, you mentioned something. You said, as we say in the business, a shoot. Now, we talk about pro wrestling when you say shoot, or do y'all use shoot in the world of mixed martial arts as well?
We do now, and I'm actually largely to either blame or thank for that, however you want to do it, because I love the vernacular of professional wrestling. And, yes, I've used it in a number of interviews, and now I've noticed the media is using those terms. I called a guy a curtain jerker one time, and I had to explain to Ariel Helwani what it meant. Ariel loved it so much, he's now acted as though he has adopted the term from me, but he's acting like he's the one that introduced it to the industry. He uses curtain jerker constantly.
Okay, now, when you say curtain jerker, now, many times in our business, it could be a guy young in the business, and so he's early on in the card. He's the first guy on the match. He's jerking the curtain. With respect to the world of MMA, are you intending that as an insult?
I mean it as an insult, and I was using it about it. Here's what happened. I'll tell you exactly what happened as it pertains to Ariel Helwani. I was ranked number 9 in the world. I was going to fight a guy named Yushin Okami. Now, Yushin was ranked number 2 in the world, and he was the last guy to defeat Anderson Silva. That's a big fight. You got 2 top 10 guys, including the number 2 ranked guy in the world.
Right.
We had to fight on an undercard because Okami didn't have any fans. And I was so hot about it. I was so mad. And I did this spot with Ariel, and I was saying that. I said, man, I got to fight this guy. I got to jerk the curtain now because of the opponent I've been given. No fault of my own.
Right.
The guy's tougher than hell, and nobody gives a damn about him. And Ariel says, hey, what was that thing you just said there? So I explained it to him, and then he's ran with it. And I've even seen him tweet out that he's the one that created the term, but he did it. He stole it from me. And I stole it from you guys.
But that's interesting. You mentioned a guy like Yushin Okami, tough as nails, and like you said, ranked as high as he was. Dude, talk about, maybe because of your love for pro wrestling, as long as you've been watching it, and of course you grew up amateur wrestling, the Greco-Roman MMA fighter. So, dude, what's the parallels between getting over in the business that I come from and that you were a fan of, and then getting over with respect to selling tickets or garnering respect to get further up that card? Because, to your point, Yushin, took you down to curtain jerker level. So is it the same? Is it something? Is it the fire? Is it the mean streak? I mean, look at Ronda Rousey. People just enamored by her and her presentation, her whole approach, and she's a verified badass. So what about getting over in the world of MMA? Same, different than pro wrestling?
Well, she's real too. You know what you see is, we always talk about it. You've got two options. You can go the Rock option, which is gimmick and entertaining and wonderful to watch, or you can go the Stone Cold option, which is straight up shoot, turn yourself up, turn up the volume. So she is definitely a Stone Cold option. What you see is what you get with Ronda, and it's very easy to get behind her. It's easier to attach people to you and get them to come along on the journey, if you will, when you're a real person and when they get to know you. It's very easy to get to know Ronda because she's being Ronda nonstop, with the money or without the money, with the fame or without the fame. She's the same person. As far as our industry goes, we don't have enough pro wrestling in it, and the reason is it can't come from our leadership. Dana White in no fashion wants people to believe that we are anything other than an organic shoot. What you see is what you get. And if you script anything, including a promo, the problem with the guys in our business is they'll turn on their own damn product. They will come out as soon as fans don't like them, and that's going to be day one, and say, well, they gave me that. I was reading lines, or they made me say that. Guys have done this before. They've made me say that. And the whole world goes, wait a minute, if they're scripting promos, what else are they scripting? And, if the guys were smart enough to band together, shut the hell up, and just go with it, and some are going to get cheered, and some are going to get booed, and sometimes you're going over, and sometimes you're putting someone else over. But they're not. Our industry doesn't work that way. We've got the toughest guys in the world, and they're a bunch of crybabies. They cannot settle for one day of having their own little Twitter feeds light up with anything negative. And if they say something, even if it's a hot statement, they'll run it back so that people will think they're a nice guy. There is so much opportunity in our business for a heel because nobody has the balls to be one.
Dude, you were talking so much trash back in the day, and of course, you sold me. You were the one who sold me on that fight with you and Anderson Silva, and goddamn it, I'm still mad at you for losing that damn fight. Diamond Dallas Page came over to my house that night. I like to watch the fights by myself so I can sit on the damn couch, yell at everybody, coach them up, be the armchair quarterback that I am. I love the world of MMA. And that damn, Dallas is one of my best friends. We cheered for your ass for goddamn 4.5 rounds, and then all of a sudden he grabbed that gimmick hold on you, and I said, son of a bitch. So anyway, goddamn it, I went back and I've rewatched back in the day when I got dropped on my head, and the reason I'm out of the business today. Do you ever go back and watch that fight and say, goddamn it, Chael, why did you do this?
No, they made me one time when I was getting ready to fight him a second time as part of a promo piece. They made me sit down and watch it and then kind of analyze myself. And I struggled through it as best I could to get the piece done, but I couldn't watch it. And that's not just because I lost and that one was a heartbreaking loss. But even if I win a match, I don't go back and rewatch it. I think it's a weakness. I think I would be better off if I could. What better way to learn than watching yourself and learning your bad stuff and your good stuff? But no, it's too hard for me. Those things make me nervous. They make me sick to my stomach, my palms sweat. Even if we're sitting here talking about it now, and that match in particular is exemplified on this. But no, I'm not very good at going back and rewatching them. I get nervous, and I don't know what it is, but no, I don't.
But you became one of the premier, if not the premier trash talker, basically, in the history of MMA. And then all of a sudden, here comes in the last, half a year, this Conor McGregor, who has totally united the country of Ireland, which he comes from. And all of a sudden, he's going to take on Jose Aldo. Aldo goes down with the rib injury. Okay, all of a sudden, Chad Mendez steps in on short notice. Talk about the trash talk and what Conor McGregor has been able to do, in your eyes, with respect to blowing up the UFC and transcending and really, uniting a country behind his cause. And hell, half the people from Ireland over here just absolutely love this guy. And he's a mesmerizing figure. I think the cat, it remains to be seen what happens with him and Jose Aldo. That will happen down the road. But just give me your thoughts on what he's been able to do, just as far as his presentation, his persona, and the way he's executed in trying to sell fights.
I'll tell you, if his story ends right now, if he never wins, if Aldo kicks his ass and then 3 more guys come along and kick his ass, he will go down in the Hall of Fame someday. He's got the interim championship. He sold more goddamn tickets than anybody in that short career. Nobody's had as few of fights. I think he's only had 5 UFC fights. In fact, I know he's only had 5 UFC fights. He's selling out arenas. He sold out an arena in Ireland on his 3rd fight. So, his place is already set. He doesn't know that. That's one of the great things when you're a champion. You enjoy what people write about you, but you can never believe it. As soon as you start believing it, you're in trouble. The guy's character is real. His gimmick is real. The suits are real. He's a fun guy. Now, one thing that he's got, and I used to have this, I lost it. One thing that he's got is he's able to live the gimmick, and even the smart marks believe what they're seeing. Now, when the cameras aren't rolling, he's not that guy. He is a guy that knows exactly what he's doing. He's smart. He's ready at all times. He works his ass off, but he knows how to play the media. When the cameras aren't going, he's a totally different guy. I had the whole world brought in, too, and I was enjoying that character. They threw me on the show The Ultimate Fighter, where the cameras are rolling 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I wasn't that good of an actor. I couldn't keep it up, so I kind of had to transition the character a little bit. And he'll go through that eventually, too. They will overuse him to where he just goes, you know what, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I can't do it anymore. And the character will change. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but he is going to be faced with that.
I think he is true to himself, but you brought up the way you brought out the comparison a while ago. Is he Stone Cold, or is he The Rock, or is he a combination of both? Real, but just able to turn it up when he needs to.
Yeah, I think that he's probably a little bit more of The Rock in terms of it is planned. If he goes into an interview, he's got his pieces, he's got his sound bites. It doesn't matter what question you ask him, he's going to hit you with the punchline, and as soon as he does, the audience forgets what in the hell the question even was. And everybody should do that. It doesn't matter what the question is. I mean, every politician in the world does that. They show up with their talking points, they wait till the host shuts his mouth, and then they hit the audience with whatever message it is they want to get out there. I had a bit of a Stone Cold moment, if you don't mind me switching gears.
Go ahead.
Can I tell you a story real fast? So I went out and I did, Jeff Jarrett's got a new show. It's called Global Force Wrestling. And I went out to it. He just had his second one this last Friday. A month prior was his first one. That was my first entry into professional wrestling, aside from buying a ticket and parking my ass in the seat. I got to be behind the curtain. It was a lot of fun. Well, when I get there, there's a production meeting at 11 a.m., and I find out about this secondhand. He doesn't tell me about the meeting, and so I think, okay, I'm going to go to that. I think he probably just forgot to send me the text. So I show up at it, and they go through the whole show, and I realize I'm not in it. He's flown me out. He flew me out first class. He's paying me to be there. He got me a nice suite at the Orleans, and he didn't put me in the show. So I said to him after the meeting, I said, Jeff, I'm not in the show. And he says, well, did you want to be? And I said, well, yeah, I wanted to be. So he opens up the script, and he thumbs to like page 3, and then he sticks his big old finger right on the page and says, why don't you go in right here? That's all he says. He doesn't say you're going face, you're going heel, you're going to be edited in, you're going to be edited out, promote the next show. He tells me absolutely nothing. He puts his finger on the page and says, why don't you go in right here? So I remember thinking, this is my Stone Cold moment. This is my Stone Cold Michael Hayes moment. This is going to be whatever in the hell I want it to be, and it's going to be whatever the hell I make of it. I had better be ready. And sure enough, when the show came around, he handed me a mic. I walked in right there, and to this day, he's never given me any more advice on what to do. And it was a great spot. If he gets his TV deal and he gets picked up, I think it's going to do well. But it was one of those situations where I was faced with an opportunity, and it was my Stone Cold moment.
Okay, so you got the opportunity to get a mic in your hand. So basically, what are you going out there and talking about? It's Global Force Wrestling, but you got the stick. What was the topic at hand?
Well, the topic at hand, I of course I want to be heel, right? And the boos are a heel's cheers. And
you're damn right.
Yeah, and over time, and I used to only be the heel, and over time, now I'm doing the same thing I was when I was the heel. And everybody hated me. It's the exact same thing, but now the goddamn audience goes along with me.
Right.
They love it when I tell them to sit down and shut up.
Because you're cool and you're badass.
I guess. I don't, but so they go crazy, and it's the opposite of what I'm going for. I do like it. It does make me feel, I'm still getting that rise and that reaction. Right. It's still, and I'm judging the other guys. When the other guys go out there, I'm just judging whose pop was the loudest. And, so I do get them worked up, and I'm staying on them, and I'm insulting them, and I'm pointing to the guy in the third row, the douchebag in the third row with the Affliction T-shirt on, to do a quote.
No, not the Affliction shirt.
I had a great line. I said I could be inducted into any wrestling Hall of Fame right now, first ballot. I could beat Ric Flair. I could beat Dusty Rhodes. I could beat the Road Warriors. I could beat Harley Race. Now, that pissed them off. When I started mentioning these guys, that pissed them off. And I just kept going. I just started rattling off names. And it was a kick. I was even going through them. I said, I could beat Brock Lesnar. I could beat Stone Cold. And then I said, well, wait a minute, I take that one back. But I could beat Kurt Hennig, and I could beat Rick Rude. I went right back into it. So when I said I could beat Stone Cold, and then I ran that back, wait, I take that one back. They went crazy for it. Yeah. They went crazy, and that was fun. Above everything else, I had so much fun.
So what's the deal? I mean, are you going to be a piece of this organization? What needs to happen for Global Force Wrestling to actually happen? Because I've been reading about it for the past damn year, seeing all these tweets. I heard that you were going to be involved, and then we had a phone conversation the other day. This is the first time I heard you cut a promo at the building, and now you're in the show. And then I was reading today, as I said, because, you called me out of the blue the other day, and we call each other every now and then just to shoot the shit, and say, hey, man, I'd like to be on the podcast. Shit, what the fuck you want to talk about? So, man, let's just shoot the shit. And that's what we're doing. But I got on a computer and said, okay, oh, man, all of a sudden now, Chael Sonnen is the expert analyst for Global Force Wrestling. So are you going to be a part of the commentary team? What the fuck is your role?
Yeah, 100%. But I have a big problem right there. See, my problem is, unless he gets a television deal, there's nothing for me to commentate. So if anyone can get on TV, I mean, two families have really ran wrestling in this country for the last couple of decades. But it is the McMahons and the Jarretts. If you go back a little further, you could bring in the Crockett's. But, if anybody can get on TV, it's going to be Jeff Jarrett. He does know what he's doing. He's a smart cookie, and he knows the right people. So I think that's going to happen. Now, internationally, I think he could get that done right now. Internationally, which is a market that I don't fully understand because I don't have to. I know they're chomping at the bit for him. I know domestically he really wants to find a deal, and that's where I would come into play. If he goes and signs a deal in Turkey, which he's actually being offered one, that isn't going to be my voice. I don't speak Turkish. That's going to be someone else. So for me to participate, he's got to get an American deal. I trust that he will, but it's a gamble. And unless he does, I'm really not part of the show.
Yeah, but what was the scuttlebutt with what happened with him and TNA? Hell, I thought he damn co-founded it or jumped in on the early stages. Then he's in, he's running it, then he's out, he's back in, he's out. What the fuck happened with that relationship?
Shoot, I think he's the champion. I think he just got... They just put the strap on him at a pay-per-view. They put some belt around him at a pay-per-view about 3 weeks ago, which leads you to believe that he's coming back in as they're going out. They've got very I'm not speaking out of school here. They got some very public problems. A lot of those checks have been rubberized over the last 8 or 9, 10 months. They lost one television deal with Spike. Their Discovery deal isn't doing great, and they've now lost that, which lends to the belief that he could take it over, that he could absorb it. I asked him straight up one time. I said, hey, the rumor is you own 11%, that you retained 11% of TNA. Is that true? And he kind of laughed. He said, well, it's more than that. He said, but yes, I am still an owner of TNA, but I'm not the majority. I can't go in and control the board. So I don't know what's happening there. It's all speculation, but I love to speculate. I think it's fun. I'm a mark, so it's fun. If you want to know what I think is going to happen, I think TNA is going to go under. I think he's going to absorb it, which I imagine just means absorb the talent. I don't think he'll have to buy anything because I don't think they own anything besides a couple of rings and a whole bunch of debt. And I think that he will rebrand it Global Force, and I think they'll move forward as that. But I have no insight to that.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. I mean, currently you're under just a little bit more with the suspension left to go, and then you could be back at work, seemingly with UFC. If you were to go get in bed in business with Jarrett, with TNA, whatever they call it, Global Force Wrestling, how do those worlds balance? Do you have to say, hey, Dana, I'm doing this now, or no, Jeff, I'm doing this, and Dana says, if I'm going to do this, I can't do that. How do you balance the scale there?
Here's what I would do. If Jeff Jarrett does get the deal so that, for a guy like me commentating, that I would have a position, and that's the deal Jeff and I have right now. Hey, help me out if I get this deal. There'll be something there. So, we're all kind of in this together. But if it comes around, I would call Dana and I would say, hey, I need some advice. Here's what's happened. I really want to do this. I don't think the two conflict. If you're talking about like going back to,
I don't think they conflict, but Dana just put himself, he was saying, wrestling's fake. He put a couple of tweets out there. I thought that was his version of saying it's a work. I don't take it that he's a big fan of pro wrestling. So to me, maybe because he's the guy that runs the UFC with the Fertitta brothers, that maybe in his mind those two worlds don't mix, or they mix like oil and water. But that being said, one of the biggest stars in his company, Ronda Rousey, is a huge fan of pro wrestling, and she participated in an event not too long ago. So, that's going to be interesting to see, how you play those cards.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the crossover's been very interesting. Every 100%, every UFC fan is a pro wrestling fan. Not every pro wrestling fan is an MMA fan at all.
Man, I would disagree with you there. I don't think every MMA fan is a pro wrestling fan. I think, maybe the ratios are the exact same, because I really do think you have some purists that think pro wrestling is bullshit, and I think you have some pro wrestling fans that say, it's too brutal, it's not for me. You can't say it's not legit, but for some reason they don't like MMA. But man, I don't know. I think there are some common ground there, but obviously I think there's there's a segment of each that doesn't like the other.
So here's something funny. You had talked about Dana's tweets that he had sent out that were negative to wrestling. Let me tell the audience what happened, just in case they don't know. An unknown guy in the wrestling world by the name of Seth Rollins sends a tweet out to Dana.
Yeah.
And Seth Rollins, and this is his official Twitter account, the Seth Rollins tells Dana, hey, your pay-per-view is $55. Vince's network is only $9.99 a month. He's got you beat there. That's a quote. So Dana writes back to Seth Rollins and says, yeah, well, that fake stuff, used a different S word, should be worth $9.99. So Seth Rollins writes back, and he says, why don't you get in there sometime, Dana, and let me know how fake it is. Dana writes him back and says, trust me, bro, it's fake. Well, Dana did not take the time to click on who he was talking to or how many followers he had or the fact that was the Seth Rollins. He thought he was just Dana works so fast. He's in such a hurry. He sends out so many tweets. That's what's funny. The real story there is that Dana's trying to convince this guy on Twitter that wrestling isn't real. He doesn't realize the guy is Seth Rollins. That's the real part of the story.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
Hey, I want to tell you guys about Cushy Dreams. Cushy Dreams offers a full lineup of premium smokable CBD. They specialize in extraordinary CBD-rich hemp flower, a.k.a. bud, in cans and pre-roll CBD joints. Enjoy all of the health benefits of CBD without getting high, under 0.3 THC. It's cannabis that ships directly to you, and it's legal in all 50 states. Join the men and women who are sick of vapes and gummies and want to smoke their CBD. Smoke your CBD. Looks like high-quality marijuana, feels like high-quality marijuana, and tastes like high-quality marijuana. Independent lab tests to show compliance and purity are posted on their website. Grown in the USA, Cushy Dreams has CBD flower in and pre-rolls. They come in specific indica, sativa blends like Energy, Hustle, Relax, and Dream. My producer Sean says he likes to smoke the Relax strain before bed to get some shut-eye after editing the podcast. He says it tastes great, exactly like high-quality weed. He would know. And hey, it can be really helpful for these anxious times of 2020. Go to cushydreams.com, Kushy. Get some high-quality CBD bud. At checkout, use promo code Steve for 20% off every order. Cushy Dreams. Smoke your CBD.
Steve Austin. Unleashed.
Back into a little bit of MMA because I knew I was talking to you. Man, I was just reading, coming up, and I guess it was going to be January, Ronda Rousey was going to be taking on Miesha Tate for the third time. And now it looks like they pulled Miesha out of that fight and put Holly Holm in. Now, have you heard this?
Yeah, absolutely. That is correct.
Okay, now, and then this is just reading right off what I copy and pasted. This is Joe Rogan. I don't agree with that fight, Rogan said during his podcast. That Holly Holm fight, I don't think that's smart. I would have gone with Amanda Nunes before Holly Holm. Amanda Nunes looked like a badass when she knocked out Sarah McMahon. That's a more dangerous fighter, a more marketable fighter. Holm is only the best boxer in the world if Ann Wolfe decides not to box. He wasn't done there, though. He says, I think Amanda Nunes has real potential. If you look at Claudia Gadelha, she's a world class. Joanna Gurjacek, world class. There's a few. Chris Cyborg, steroids or no steroids. Take away the controversy. Go by her performances. Ferocious. That's four of them right there. Why is he so vehemently against the Holly Holm fight? Because she has not earned it yet?
Yeah, and Joe Rogan hit it right on the head. Holly Holm is undefeated. The other side of that is she's only had 2 fights. The boxing title, she's like a 17-time world kickboxing and boxing champion. I can tell you my existence on this earth, I have never met a girl who has competitively boxed or kickboxed. I've never shaken hands with a girl that's a kickboxer or a boxer. So as far as winning 17 titles, I can't sign off on the validity of any of those.
Right.
Regardless of this Ann Wolfe girl or not, I just can't. I have no idea who contested these, who sanctioned these, or how real these were. But Holly Holm is a very hard worker. She's a very nice girl. And the bottom line is only 2 fighters in history have sold on their own, Mike Tyson and Oscar De La Hoya. Everybody else needed a dance partner. Ronda Rousey is quickly becoming the third. She is getting it done. She's selling out arenas on her own. She does not do the pay-per-view numbers that people advertise, but she does do very good numbers, and they're climbing quickly. So with that said, you just kind of need somebody to go out there. Miesha Tate is the right contender as far as if you want to follow the rankings, but that's been done twice. That division lacks parity. Holly Holm, I don't think Miesha was the right choice. She is the right girl in terms of architecture, competitive architecture, but it's a tough sell. We've already seen it twice, and they weren't close the first 2 times. So I like that there's new blood. I like that that Holly Holm is in there in terms of Miesha being out. But I get Joe Rogan with Nunes. Sure, you could have gone with her, but at this point, what the hell's the difference? We're buying it for Ronda, and that's just the truth.
Man, I tell you, the last time, I saw, the Miesha Tate fight against Ronda Rousey, she kept rushing in. Every time she rushed in, Ronda threw her. And I think it was about the 3rd time, that's when she hit her with that arm bar. And man, I just thought, from a strategic standpoint, that wasn't the best strategy to employ. And, Ronda's hands keep getting better. And I'm not an MMA expert. Miesha Tate has good hands. They're getting better, as we saw in that last fight against Correa. But my point is, man, okay. Well, let me just ask you, because, dude, I'm the armchair quarterback. If you have a great female fighter, she's 135, she's got good stand-up, she's got a good ground game, what is going to be your game plan if she's going to be taking on Ronda Rousey? What do you tell her? How do you coach her up?
See, that's the problem with Ronda, and a lot of great fighters go through this. She's known for the armbar. So the common belief is if you can stay out of the armbar, you're going to be okay. Now, that's only a theory. If you take the armbar away, then you see that Ronda has other tools. She just doesn't go to them until she has to. She goes to her first-line offense first. If that doesn't work, she goes to plan B. We found this out in Ronda's last fight. I don't know if you saw it. If you blinked, you missed it. It was a matter of seconds, and she knocked the girl out. That's her first knockout with her hands.
Right.
So, yeah, as far as fighting Ronda goes, these girls have one tremendously big obstacle, which is they're not. They don't have a history as competitive. Ronda's skill set is not unique. John Jones' skill set is unique. John Jones goes out there and does video game type moves that the announcers can't even call because they've never seen them before. Ronda's a very basic and straightforward fighter. However, she's a masterful competitor. She's been at it her whole life through the judo circuit. She's been to 2 different Olympic Games. She's shaken hands with another girl, competed with the lights on, and found a way to get her hand raised at the end of it. These other girls don't have that. The division's brand new. It's 2, maybe 3 years old. So they just simply, they don't have these amateur backgrounds. They don't have professional backgrounds that are anything extensive. They're not great competitors. And that's what separates Ronda. It's really an intangible more than it is a physical. It's not worrying about her jab to her cross, to her throw, to her armbar. It's the fact that she knows how to walk out in front of people, deal with that, keep her emotions in check, operate in a constricted time frame of a 5-minute round situation, win the round, be objective about it. She's a competitor, and these other girls
But
aren't.
every time you walk out to fight a Ronda Rousey, and you're walking to the ring first because she's a champion, all of a sudden, man, the place goes absolutely batshit crazy. I mean, it's like a WrestleMania moment in front of 90,000 people every time she walks out. So how deep into the psyche does that go to a competitor? Obviously, you know, you've never sat there and waited on Ronda Rousey to walk to the ring, but you have seen her up close and personal. You've analyzed her fights. And you're a fighter, so how does that play into your psyche? Can you become psyched out by that? Can it just intimidate you? And here's a bullshit pro wrestling story I'll throw at you. First time I went to WWF, I was going to take on The Undertaker. I had a bunch of things, a fishbone of things I was going to do The Undertaker. In that match, some strategies, some things I was going to call. All of a sudden, the lights went down. The smoke came up. Everybody put their lighters in the air. They hit the music. Here comes The Undertaker walking in slow motion to the ring. I forgot every fucking high spot I was going to call that night and totally shit the bed. Now, that's a pro wrestling, analogy as to, maybe the mindset of the people that are in there with Ronda Rousey. Can that happen? Does that happen, Chael?
100%, and fighters often lie about it. A fighter is supposed to be above that. They're supposed to have the focus. They're not supposed to care about the crowd. They're not supposed to feel the pressures. They're not supposed to, man, they are scared to death. You're going, I used to be, have certain nerves and anxiety in amateur wrestling where a guy's just trying to score points on you. In a fight where he's trying to hurt and damage you, if you get tired, there's nowhere to sprawl, or rather stall. Yes, you definitely feel those things. And then fighters, the media is so small that covers us. We largely exist on the Internet. Now, that's changing. Fox picked us up. ESPN's got a gig going. But largely we're on the Internet. Fighters go on the Internet 5, 10, 11, 12 times a day. They read these things. They read that they're 8-1 underdogs. They read that nobody's touched Ronda. They read that everybody's picking against them. And, yes, it affects them. And anyone that says otherwise, they're lying. And lying is a big part of being a fighter. You got to lie to other people, lie to yourself, convince yourself, and go out there. But, yes, I've seen plenty of people fold in the locker room before they ever get to Ronda. That's what used to happen to Mike Tyson. People would lose those fights in the locker room before their music ever even hit those speakers.
You kind of diagnosed, Ronda's fighting style or her strengths as compared to John Jones with the video game type moments. In closing this conversation about Ronda Rousey, my thoughts, armchair quarterback, is her strength is, first of all, she's been an elite level athlete basically her whole life, and obviously, with her mother, a silver medal at the Olympics, gold medal at the Olympics. I mean, she's been around that environment, second generation, all her life. But when she goes to that ring, she uses that BMF walk. And I coined that phrase back when I did one of my videos, sitting in the stands at Freeman Coliseum with Jim Ross. And he said, Steve, what about that walk? He goes, you don't walk like that all the time, only when you walk to the ring. And I said, that's a BMF walk. He says, what's that? I said, bad motherfucker. I said, when you walk to the ring, you send a message to that person in the ring of what you're about to do to them. I believe Ronda Rousey uses that BMF walk. I'm not saying she got it from me. I'm saying that's who she is as a competitor. But to me, one of her strongest suits, other than being second generation and just born and raised from Olympic grade talent, a mother, is her mean streak. She wants to finish motherfuckers like nobody's business. I've just never have seen a female fighter since her or before her that has the dogged determination just to want to crush, submit, or finish that opponent. Her mean streak is probably what I like most about her, and I mean as it pertains to the octagon.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, she is out there for business. She is not in. This is really relevant when the Ronda story gets told in the final analysis. She is not there for the fame or the money. And the evidence there is that she dropped out of high school her sophomore year to pursue an Olympic dream, and eventually was stuck living in her car for a number of months. The Ronda Rousey story is not one of moonlight in canoes. It's one of sacrifice and determination. The sport caught up with her, thank God. Thank God she did get in there where she can have some fun and get some attention, have some people watching, make a whole bunch of money. Thank goodness. But that's not what she's there for. She is there straight up to kick ass. And if you took the money out of it, she's still showing up. And if you took the fame and the cameras out of it, she's still showing up. And that evidence is there. She did that. That's what judo is. When's the last time you went down and bought a ticket and watched a judo match? I'm going to guess never. I've never done it. I doubt your listeners have. She would go to the farthest, darkest places of the world to compete with other girls that would do the same thing. They'd meet in a room and go have a judo competition and try to break each other's arms and feet. That's what she did. She's a straight-up ass kicker, and the fact that the fame caught her, well, good for her. She deserves it. She doesn't have to live in that car anymore. But that doesn't change the fact of why she's there, and those purists are the ones that go on and do the best. You know, anybody that has a level of success will tell you, don't do it for the money. Let the money will catch you if the passion's there. And it's really true as it pertains to her.
All right, dude, we're going to shift gears here when I come back with Chael Sonnen. Coming out of, where you at? You in Westland? Where you at? You in Westland, Oregon right now?
Beautiful Westland, Oregon. Born and raised.
Podcasting out of Westland, Oregon. I'm coming right back at Chael Sonnen. I want to talk to him a little bit about family life. I also want to break down a couple more MMA fights that I was questioning, a few strategies and techniques. I'm coming right back with Chael Sonnen.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do, and I bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com. All right, here we are back with Chael Sonnen. We just got finished wrapping up our conversation about Ronda Rousey, a person that, god dang, I respect the hell out of. I know Chael does too. Chael, before we move on, I want to ask you a little bit about your family life, but I wanted to break down one more fight before we moved on, and that was that Chad Mendes fight against Conor McGregor. And, you know, Mendes took that fight on short notice, about 11 to 14 days, depending on which story you listen to. When that match first busted out, about that 40-second mark, you know, it looked like Chad was gassed. He just kept hanging in there, was able to get some takedowns. We talked about this on the telephone about 4 or 5 days ago. I thought, this is my opinion, again, armchair quarterback, pro wrestling like a motherfucker. I thought with a full camp, I thought Chad Mendes would have won that fight. Purely speculation because it didn't happen like that. Break down that fight for me, and what did you see?
And see, I agree with that because it did appear to be a conditioning issue. Physically, move for move, he did appear to be the superior athlete. His skill set did appear to be able to neutralize, control, and even dominate Conor. He fatigued. And, you know, whether it was a full camp issue or it was an adrenaline dump. And here's what an adrenaline dump is.
Please tell me. I hear that a lot.
Yeah, you hear that a lot, and sometimes it even gets dismissed, but it's a real thing. So if you come out there and you have a level of excitement in a fight, I've seen guys knock their opponent down. When the opponent gets up, they're done. They thought the fight was over. The guy that did the knocking down thought the fight was over. He was celebrating in his head. His dreams have come true, blah, 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 and he realizes he's got 4.5 rounds still to go.
Right.
And he just dumps. They can't do it. You know, they got that level of excitement, and it creates for an immediate fatigue. And this is a chemical release. This is actually a biological, scientific thing. You get a chemical release from your brain, and once that goes through your body, boy, your muscles lock up, your joints lock up. It really becomes tough to overcome mentally. So Chad Mendes goes out there. He takes Conor McGregor down just as he had hoped he would be able to do. He didn't know for sure. He thought he should be able to take him down, but he didn't know for sure. He takes him down with ease. When he got him there, Conor scrambled up to his feet and got away. Now, nowhere did any of us, and Chad and I are buddies, we got the same managers, I talk to him regularly, nowhere did any of us in the Chad Mendes camp think that Conor would get away. Many of us thought, well, maybe Conor's got these weird George St. Pierre type hips and we can't take him down. But once we get him there, his ass isn't going anywhere. Chad took him down. He had a sigh of relief. Okay, good. I was able to get him down. Conor sprung back up to his feet, and when he did that, I saw it happen. I saw the adrenaline dump take place. I saw the expression leave Chad's face. I was watching at ESPN, and I said to the guys, this fight is over. And they all said, what do you mean? What do you mean? 40 seconds in, I said, the fight's over. Conor's got it. And they said, what do you mean? Chad's no, the fight, trust me, the fight's up. Chad takes him down again. Chad's throwing elbows and beating him up, and I just kicked back in my chair. I put my feet up. I said, guys, the fight is over. Conor wins this fight. They couldn't see what I was seeing, but unfortunately, I've been in his shoes. I know what it was like, and I knew he was done. And when the fight was over, Chad privately did say, yeah, that's exactly what happened. He said, I needed out of there. I was scared to death. I was completely exhausted. I've never been exhausted in a fight before, and I needed out. There was 2 rounds to go. I knew I couldn't do it, and that's a very fair analysis of himself.
Hey, obviously, because this is what you do as a fighter, and now and as a announcer, part of commentary or analyzing. You watch a fight much different than I do because I'm a fan. I get it. I get a little bit of it, but I'm looking from a fan standpoint. I see some strategies. I see some of the things, not like you do. It's like if I was to watch someone framing up a house, I kind of see what they're doing, but not like the motherfucker that's doing it or the other carpenter who actually is helping build the project. So with that being said, watching the way you watch MMA, how do you see professional wrestling? And let's take a famous match, which you've probably seen time after time after time, which would be WrestleMania 3, say with Savage and Steamboat. I'm sure you remember that match.
Of course.
When you go back and you watch stuff like that, or if you just put it on right now, are you seeing the inner workings, or are you just watching kind of as a fan, and are you paying attention to the psychology of, okay, this guy's getting shined up right now, time for a little bit of heat, got to bring these people back up? Are you listening to the crowd while you watch and seeing, what's actually going on?
Yes, I do, but I didn't throughout the majority of my career. That's kind of a new thing where I do look at it differently. As soon as I retired, and got more involved in pro wrestling and actually getting to be behind the curtain instead of buying a ticket at the box office, walking in the front door and sitting down. I do look at things differently, and I'm very impressed by that. The things that I learn, and a great guy, if anybody ever wants to know about ring psychology, a guy that breaks it down as good as anybody and does it very openly, is Jim Cornette. He does it all the time. He explains, the difference between a heel and a face and what they need to do in the different towns and territories to get over. And the psychology fascinates me. I like it more than I like the actual event. I respect it more.
Okay, so, and talking about Jim Cornette, he's one of my favorites of all time, and that guy had a gift for gab, and he was just a guy that could talk for days on end and just literally make you want to throw a brick at your television, and I absolutely loved his work with the Midnight Express. So how often are you talking with Jim? Are y'all doing, you have a podcast, you're welcome. So is he a frequent guy on your guest? Have you been on his show? How well do you know Jim?
I feel like I know him pretty well. With that said, he's been my guest once, and I've been his guest once. Now, he's a master. He's kind of like we were talking about with Ronda earlier, of letting you in. I see these guys on TV. I grow up with them. I follow him on YouTube. I listen to his podcast. So I feel like I know him. I don't know if he would feel the same way. I don't know how close he is to MMA. He was a great guest. I just did his show a couple of days ago. He's so much fun. He's so interesting. I love how he breaks things down. I love how he sees things differently, and I love how he's not scared. He's one of the few guys that isn't out of the company trying to get back in the back door by kissing Vince's ass every chance that he gets. He comes out and he just calls it the way he sees it. Sometimes he agrees with the writers, and sometimes he doesn't. And, if you don't mind me switching gears, speaking of the writers, I followed your tweets over the weekend. You liked the Lesnar-Taker match, at least when it was going on. Did you like the ending, or did you feel a big middle finger was sent to the audience on that?
Man, I didn't think a big middle finger was sent to the audience. I was going to break that down with Wade Keller here in a couple of days, but I'll be happy to talk to you about it because you brought it up. But I've only seen the match one time, so let me just recollect what I saw. I thought it was I love the way they jump-started the match. High intensity, this is what they needed because, bottom line, straight up, WrestleMania 30 was not good. It said Undertaker got concussed early. It happened to me. I wrestled him at Madison Square Garden, Highway to Hell. He went down to give me a backdrop. I kicked him. When he brought his chin up, when he brought his head up, he caught me right in the chin. First time I'd ever been knocked out in my life, Chael. I'm not saying I'm a tough guy. First time I'd ever been knocked out. Well, we're live on pay-per-view. There's 20,000 people in Madison Square Garden. I'm laying there on the mat. Undertaker's standing there. Earl Hebner, the referee, looks down at me. He goes, "Goddamn, boy." He goes, "You all right?" And I said, "Where am I?" He goes, "Goddamn it, boy, you at the Garden." So my point is, I do not remember the rest of that match. It was a piece of shit. That was Highway to Hell way back in the day. So going back to continue my point, WrestleMania 30 wasn't the match that it could have been. Word on the street, Taker got concussed. They needed to come out strong. They needed to set the tone. I loved the pull apart they did a couple of weeks ago, setting that match up. Taker was back. He caught him with a low blow. Okay, why do you use the low blow? Is he turning heel? Hey, that's one of the most effective ways to stop a human being, much less an extraordinary human being, a monster, if you will, in Brock Lesnar. So they started that match off with a jump start, then settled it into the brawl that it ended up being. A couple of F5s here, F5 through the table, and then get a couple of submission holds. Okay, now let's go to the final thing. One bell ring, referee, Charles Robinson. Referee goes over and starts yelling at the guy for, "Why did you ring the bell?" I guess, and I didn't see Monday Night Raw either, so you can bring the back end up on this if you saw Monday Night Raw. So Taker's tapping. I didn't see the tap. Maybe the bell ringer did, that's why I rang the bell. So the referee says, "Why are you stopping the match?" They continued the match, and then did Taker catch him with a low blow?
Yeah, Taker did low blow.
And then back into the submission.
He put it back into the submission and put him unconscious, which at the
and there was the fuck you, and Brock was too proud to pass out, and he passed out after giving him the middle finger. So
exactly.
Jump in. Okay, so my point is, I need to rewatch that because I only saw what I saw, and I see what they're trying to do with Brock. As far as the perfect way to end a pay-per-view is a feel-good moment, it was not that. To set the stage for the rubber match, I thought it did that. What did they do on Monday Night Raw? Did you see Monday Night Raw?
I've got it saved at home. I have not seen it, and I haven't even got it.
Okay, so you haven't seen that yet. I want to hear the explanation as well. But seeing that you saw the match just the way I saw it, give me your thoughts on the finish. Well, first of all, the match. I thought the match was a bust-ass match. They set the pace, slowed it down, did what they had to do. It was very physical. Brock was knocking the dog shit out of Taker for a shoot with some real good punches. A lot of people thought the double sit-up spot was a little goofy, but I didn't. I thought that was just Brock kind of going in a maniacal mode and then Taker mocking him, and I loved the exchange from the seated position. I loved that because then they got up. So that turned a lot of people commented on. I won't say it turned them off. I dug it. I popped like a motherfucker when they did that and started throwing from the ground. So I really dug that spot. What was your take on the match in general, and then you tell me your thoughts on the finish?
Well, it was a hell of a match. And you go back to their
it had a big time feel to it, and it had to, and it was.
Yeah, and you go back to their match at WrestleMania, and it was terrible. It was a bad match. Taker was blowing up. He had a knee issue. He was moving slow. You heard the thing on the concussion, and I kind of dismissed it. I believe it. I think he did get concussed, but I just thought, the poor guy just isn't moving very well. We're probably not going to see Taker again. He came out of this year's WrestleMania. He was awesome. Bray Wyatt was awesome. He won a clean match, which surprised me. I did not think that was going to happen. So he comes out for this match, and you kind of give him the benefit of the doubt. I thought it was the best he'd looked out of all three of the matches. So good for Taker. Brock's doing his part. I know the sit-up moment you're talking about. I also liked it when they started exchanging from that position because I've never seen it. I've never seen guys starting to trade blows while sitting on their asses. But here was my problem as a fan. It was very clear what they tried to do. You put Taker over. He deserves that. People have been pissed off since he went down at WrestleMania. So you go ahead and you correct that a little bit, but then you put Brock over too. So now you haven't upset anybody. And as a fan, I don't just want to be happy for my guy. I want to see my opponent's fans hanging their head. So when you put both guys over, when you do an overcorrect like that, and nobody has to leave sad, it pisses me off. I want the people cheering for Brock, because in this case, I'm a Taker guy. I want the people cheering for Brock to have a bad day, and I didn't get that.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
Support for this podcast comes from Pluto TV. Need an escape? Drop into Pluto TV for a world of free TV. Stream hundreds of channels and thousands of movies and shows all for free. Yeah, free. No subscriptions, no fees. Imagine 24/7 channels of Narcos, CSI, Star Trek, Survivor, and everything else from hit movies to binge-worthy TV shows. The latest news, live sports, comedy, and more. What are you waiting for? Download the free Pluto TV app for Android, iPhone, Roku, and Fire TV and start streaming now. Pluto TV. Drop in, watch free. Again, I thought, the tap out was funny. I didn't know if that was like an insurance clause built in as a safety valve, just because maybe, as a businessman, Brock didn't necessarily want to do the favors, but the old man talked him into it. And that was his way out to appease him, that he basically tapped. Again, I haven't seen Monday Night Raw to get that storyline, but dude, man, I don't know. I loved those two submission holds that were grabbed by both guys, but me, man, either give me a fuck job finish where someone fucks the other one, or a straight up, boom, I beat your ass today. The guy, there was the discombobulation, distraction when you turned around, and whether it's a shot to the balls into a, whatever Taker's finish is these days, that big gimmick thing he does, something impactful that's fuck you, boom, we're 1-1, bitch. Now we got to take it somewhere else to find out who's going to be 2 out of 3, and obviously that destination is WrestleMania. So kind of, I think we're barking up the same tree. I would have liked to have seen a bigger payoff with more impact, and I would have liked to. I watched it on the television. Had I walked out of the arena, or when I turned my television off, I'd like to say, you goddamn right. Now I got to see the third one. The way it is right now, I still want to see the third one, but it didn't really just make me start to slobber because I've got to see the third match now. I would have loved to see just a little bit, about a 2-minute dose of ultra violence, boom, into the finish, off the bell ring with the distracted referee. Boom, 1, 2, 3, Taker goes over.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, I'll tell you a guy that I respect because he's got the courage to put people over, and he's got the courage to do it clean and no BS, and that's Cena. When Cena makes a decision to help a guy get his career started, he doesn't start and stop him in the same match. And it's one of my criticisms of the business over the last 5 or 6 years. They've been starting and stopping guys, maybe even over the last 10 years. They're starting and stopping guys so much. And a guy like Cena will come out. Jericho was real good at that, too. Jericho would if he was going to put a guy over, he would put him all the way over.
Right.
And I did feel, the writers tried to correct it so much that as a fan, I'm going, wait a minute, guys. Someone here has to have the balls to go down, and it's got to be all the way down. Now, you bring up WrestleMania. See, now I think that Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to wrestle Brock Lesnar in WrestleMania. That's what I think.
No, you're wrong there. But let's talk about the brief program we worked with Kevin Owens. People were like, well, why couldn't Cena put him over? Because, you're talking about John Cena, the number one guy for the last 10 years. He done put Kevin Owens over one time strong. Now it's Cena's time to win because he's the man. I love Kevin Owens. He's got a great future ahead of him. He's damn near a 15-year vet. So people always talk about Cena holds people down. Hell no. That guy wants to get as many people. He would love for someone to come in there and try to blow his doors off or be on the same platform because, dude, you know it just as well as I do. You've been in the business where you're trying to put asses in seats and make people buy a pay-per-view. The more people you got operating on that level, the more money you're going to make. Cena's a guy that's very passionate about the business. He loves the business, but I'll be goddamn, he loves the money too. And so he ain't trying to hold nobody down. And to your point, yes, he'll put anybody over at any time when it's right for business and when it needs to be done. And that's one of the reasons I respect him so much.
Yeah, see, I totally agree with that. And again, Jericho was another guy that...
Again, Jericho, damn right he would.
Now, I'll stay on something for a second. I see Kevin Owens. That one surprised me for a couple of reasons. One, I don't know that he's going to be a huge star, but above everything, not to his fault. He's 35 years old. If Cena's going to put a guy over, traditionally, he's going to put over a 25-year-old. That must have surprised you that he put over Owens, who I don't know for sure he's going to carry the torch, and even if he does, he can't carry it that far.
Yeah, but I don't think they're looking that far down the road. And, Kevin Owens, he may be 35, but I think he is a part of the at least the next wave for the next 2 to 5 years. Now, and how long will Cena, stick around? I don't know. I know he loves the wrestling business. He may never leave. And how durable he is. Look how soon he came back from that damn devastating nose break that Seth Rollins gave him. Dude, back in the ring this quick after all the surgery he's been through. He's always back in the ring. But anyway, so back to your point about Kevin Owens. I think he's a strong part of the NXT movement into the main roster. And again, the guy's been around the horn. He's no spring chicken. He's a tried and true veteran. But I think it's going to become, that roster is going to be, the sum is greater than all of the parts. All those guys together are going to be having these badass matches. And that roster, maybe within the next few years, will be almost as deep as it was in the Attitude Era. Because if you go back, Chael, back to the days when I was still in the ring, yeah, I was leading the charge, but look at everybody that was in that locker room. It was so deep. We've already had some guys already going to the Hall of Fame, some guys yet to be going into the Hall of Fame, probably another 5 or 6 of them. We had a badass roster. So I think moving into the future, it's right now Cena is the guy. He has been the guy. But the other person or the other thing that's drawing the people is that it is the machine that is called the WWE. There needs to be another big star, but with everything going on, with Reigns being what he is, and we don't know what he is really right now. He's a somewhat over babyface. Look at Seth Rollins, a premier performer. A little bit of heat as a heel. You got John Cena. You bring your Kevin Owens. You bring your Cesaros. All these other guys are coming up as hellish as hands. I think it just goes to show you got to have a strong roster. And maybe no one will ever surpass within this generation that's currently in the ring what Cena's done. But Kevin Owens is going to be a big part of that movement.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, okay, that's cool. You've changed the way I look at it. I'll tell you, one of the greatest characters ever in wrestling history, in my opinion, is what Bray Wyatt is doing right now. And he's 26. He's a young guy. I'm so impressed with what he's doing, with what he's getting over with. I think to look at him, if he was a stock, I would have shorted it, and I would have missed the boat on that. I love what he's doing there, and I still think that Randy Orton's being underutilized. He's being utilized great. He's a big star, but I think he's a bigger star. I don't think that his bulb is dimming as much as I think maybe he's got a writer or two in the back that sees it that way. I think he's got the look, he's got the attitude, he's a goddamn good wrestler. And he's got a huge base. I hope that they're not trying to fade him out in any capacity. They're
not trying to fade him out. And I didn't mean to pass him over and not bring up his name nor the name of Sheamus, who's a guy who I still see has some upside. He's seemingly peaked at where he's at right now, but I think there's more upside to that guy. And whether it's a tweaking his work or tweaking his storylines, Randy, they've let, or not they, the machine, the writers have let him get a little bit stale. Yeah, dude can work his ass off. Repackage him. God, can you do that to a guy who's been in the business as long as he has? You goddamn right you can. Send him home for a month, come up with something good, and then, reinvigorate him. So, yeah, dude, there's a bunch of cats in that locker room. And one of the things, and let me shift gears, just talking about guys that, that I really like and respect, Daniel Bryan. I keep wondering, the doctor's going to clear him. Is he going to be able to make it through the waivers? What's in Vince's head, Triple H's head? What's this guy's future? That guy was on fire there. Now, he wasn't above Cena, but goddamn, he was moving the needle. And I loved watching him work because I love good workers in the ring. I'm interested to see if the guy's going to come back, 1 from the neck injury, 2 from the concussion history.
Yeah, I hope so too. When that first came out, I sure thought that was a little bit of a shoot, and maybe he was going on vacation. I'm wrong about that, and I do hope that his health is all right. That guy's got a seat at the table anyway. It's amazing how many fans he has. If you don't mind me backtracking, you brought up Sheamus earlier. Do you watch Jackass, the show Jackass?
Nah, I hardly watch anything, Jill.
Okay. Jackass has a segment on there where, these buddies are all hanging out, and then one of them will sneak up behind another one and with a buzz clipper, and shave a little chunk out of his head. It's a funny little skit, whatever.
Right.
Well, I almost did that to Sheamus. So let me tell you what happened. I got on an airplane. You know what a wrestling fan I am. So I get on this airplane. I'm in L.A. It's a Sunday. Monday Night Raw is in Portland the next night. So when I get on the plane, I end up on the plane with all the guys. Okay, Jericho's on the plane. Sheamus is on the plane. Kane's on the plane. Ric Flair's on the plane drinking whiskey at 11 a.m. You go through it. Bray Wyatt, Rob Van Dam. So all the guys are on the plane. This is a big thrill for me. I end up sitting straight behind Sheamus. So I give him a shoulder tap, and I inform him that I have a new angle for him. And I tell him my idea, which is basically like Akeem, the African Dream.
Right.
Okay? Sheamus is the whitest white guy ever. White people look at Sheamus and go, God damn, you're white. So I told him I thought that he should
He
work an
redefined
angle.
white.
Right. I said, you should work an angle where you come out and tell everyone you're black. And he's like, oh, yeah, great idea. And turns around. He no-sells me. And I'm like, oh, no. I've got a whole plan here. He said, you're going to come out and you're going to be like a gangster guy. You're going to have the pants sagging. You're going to have the hip-hop. You're going to have the big chain around your neck. Like, there's something here. And he's like, oh, yeah, great idea. Yeah, I'll think about that. And then he throws in the headphones, pulls his hat down, which is the complete leave me alone look.
No.
So I'm thinking, this will be funny. I got a buzz clipper just coincidentally in my carry-on, and I got an iPhone on my camera here on my iPhone. I'm going to give you the jackass moment, and I'm going to record it and put myself over. And I was so close to doing it, and in hindsight, I'm really, really glad I did not. But I was so mad that he no-sold me. So then I took one more run at him. We make the entire flight to Portland. He gets off the plane before I do. So when I get off the plane, I went back up to him one more time. It was like, no, wait a minute. I want to pitch this a little bit more. And he's like, yeah. He gave me the same answer again. Yeah. Good idea. Yeah, I'll think about that. That's the whole story. That's my Sheamus story. I thought you might enjoy it.
Chill, you probably would have been the worst booker in the history of the business.
I realize how ridiculous it is, but that's why it's funny.
Okay, first of all, it's a great story, but goddamn, that would have been the worst damn piece of booking. I don't know. They're doing some pretty bad shit right now, so maybe it would have worked. I don't know. I've seen worse shit happen. Hey, dude, before we sign off, tell me what's going on at the household. I know you just had a baby. How's that going for you?
All right.
I mean, you're the gangster love. You're a solid cat. You're a hustler. And all of a sudden, man, is there a different side of Chael Sonnen once you get around your son?
Oh, man, it's what every parent ever told me was, it's life-changing and it's the greatest experience and blah, blah, blah. And I was even in the hospital. Like, it's just about to happen, and I'm thinking, man, is there something wrong with me? Because I get it. Like, a baby's going to be here. We're going to raise them. This is going to be great. But that was the end of it. That when it actually happens, I mean, everything that everybody told me would happen, it did. It's a life-changing moment. It's unexplainable. It's the greatest thing in the world. And yeah, he's 3 months old. His name is Pharaoh. He's in training right now for the 2036 Olympic Games, sport undetermined. He's in the resting phase. He likes to sleep a lot. He's preparing his body for the big competition. And that's about it. And you know what? I really appreciate you asking about him. I love talking about him. I'm as proud as can be.
So you're a hands-on guy. You're doing all the help, feeding or changing the diapers, doing the whole burp routine, all that stuff.
Oh, all of it, absolutely. I have night shift because I'm a night owl anyway. So my wife's on up until 8:30 p.m. and then I take over and she gets the full night's sleep, which is pretty rare. Most parents, that's their big complaint, is they don't get any rest. So we've kind of figured that out. Now it's only our first, so we have mastered the sleep. On the second might be a little different, but man, it's been a thrill. And he's very unreasonable, this kid. He wakes me up at like 4 in the morning and screaming, and I go talk to him. I try to tell him, things aren't that bad. You got your own bed, got some food, you got clean clothes, but he's not quite ready to be rational yet.
Tell him, you're in a good place. You're in a good place when you get out in the real world. You're going to see you've got it good right now, kid. Hey, let me ask you, you're a night owl. Man, I can't sleep worth the flying shit. And so I try to stay up late. So, if I try to go to sleep at like, say, 9 or 10 p.m., that's the time I would like to go to bed. But if I did that, I'd wake up at like 3. So last night, I tried to go to sleep at about 10:30. Woke up at 1:15. I went in there, got a glass of wine just so I can wind down, no pun intended, wind down and try to go back to sleep. And sit there and toss, turn like a motherfucker for the rest of the night. I can't sleep worth a shit. Are you a night owl just because that's when you come alive, do your thing? Are you researching stuff on the computer? Are you watching TV? What are you doing when you're night owl, when you're married with a baby?
All of the above. So I got the TV going, and I'm a new subscriber to Netflix, which actually makes passing the time a little bit better. But yeah, my body kicks on. You know, in the morning, I'm the same as you. I'm 2 cups of coffee, and I'm an alpha brain because I have to. I'm not on in the morning. And at night, it doesn't matter how hard I've worked out that day. It doesn't matter how few hours of sleep I had the night before. I turn on. You know, when I'm training for a fight, I'll do my last workout about midnight. About midnight is when I'll throw my shoes on, and that's when I'll go do my road work. And it gets a little bit of a small-town feel, too. You know, you're out running at night. It's nice and quiet and calm, but it's largely just because that's when I feel my best. I can't really work out in the mornings because I'm not awake, and you know, that's just the way that it goes. But, yeah, I surf the Internet. I love it, you know, whether it's pro wrestling sites or MMA sites. I even love politics, so I got my CNN.com and FoxNews.com. I've been enjoying the hell out of the Trump campaign. I don't really care what he's saying. I admire the fact that he has courage. I think that's the number one word for him right now. He's got courage and guts, and that's the end of it. You know, people like to say, oh, he's a blunt speaker, or he doesn't follow political correctness. They're wrong. The word is courage, to take the stances that he's taken, to take the positions that he's taken, to create a dialogue on things like that. He's got balls. And let me tell you one more thing since I've got you on the line here. I gave this comparison. I just started a new show. It's a political show. It's only 12 minutes long. It's done once a week. I just did a breakdown of Trump, and here's what I said. I said, and I compared him to you. I said, it's a Stone Cold Steve Austin, and let me explain. Said in 1996, 1997, when Stone Cold broke through, up until that point, it was always good guys and the bad guys. The bad guys liked other bad guys, and the good guys liked other good guys. Stone Cold came out and stood on an island by himself. He would hit you over the head if you were a heel or if you were a face, and that had never been done before. And there was a level of courage that came along with being alone, having no tag team partner, no manager, and no friends willing to take on all comers. That is the Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Donald Trump, like him or not, has taken a Stone Cold Steve Austin approach to politics, and it's never been done before, and it takes courage. And that is what the country's rallying behind.
Oh, dude, I get I'm not going to sit here and talk politics with you, but I get a kick out of it. How do people listen to your 12-minute show? Where can they find it?
Oh, you know what? I wasn't even doing a plug on that.
No, but I want to know how they can find it.
I appreciate you doing that. It's called Your TV. You go to Your TV, and I've got my own channel on there, but it's brand new. And when I gave that breakdown, even people in the political world, this was my first show, when I gave that breakdown, even people in the political world were like, man, he's right. And he just said that in an entertaining way. You know, I was able to relate public officials who's likely to be the president simply to professional wrestling. And I'm spot on. It's a spot-on analysis. And it might be hard for you to discuss because you are Stone Cold, but my analysis there is perfect and it's relatable, and I'm right. He came out and he stood by himself, the same as you did.
All right, let's wrap this thing up. I want to talk about your podcast because you've been podcasting now for, I'm guessing, right at about a year.
Yeah, I'm just shy of a year,
okay.
and maybe the best decision I made.
I want to go back. I was riding in a car somewhere, and my phone rang. It was you, and you said, hey, Steve, let me ask you about this podcasting thing. I said, you said, do you dig it? And I said, yes, for all the reasons why. And I said, Chael, you're natural at this. You've got to do that. You remember that phone call?
Absolutely, 100%.
All right. So anyway, obviously, you've got your show. You're welcome. How are you enjoying the process? Is it what you thought it was going to be, and you digging it?
It is the most fun I've ever had in a job. You know, I only talk to people that I have fun talking to. You know, so it's no interview. I don't research or anything. I just like to have people come on and do a conversation. I've been stuck one or two times where it was like I was the FBI and my guest was there under subpoena. I would ask a question, they'd answer it yes or no, and I'm going, listen, if you don't want to do a spot, man, just tell me no in the future. You know, but so I'm trying to create something out of nothing. And I rent a studio. I think over time I'll do it out of my house. But for right now, it's kind of good for me to get up and get motivated and get dressed and hit the coffee shop and drive into town. But, man, it's a blast. I can't believe it's a job. And it's flattering and it's fun, and it's number one in MMA right now by a mile. And, man, that's flattering. I got an ego, too. I love being number one.
Hey, man, you've always been a guy. You was born with a gift of gab. Have you always been that way throughout your life? Because sometimes, every now and then, I get someone on the podcast, and, it's like in Los Angeles, or maybe they have them all over the place, but there's a comedy troupe or a place where you go to learn comedy. It's called Groundlings. And kind of one of the things they teach you there is when someone presents something or brings something up, it's yes and. And so every now and then you'll get someone on you will interview, and they don't know the yes and, they just know the yes and no, which you just said. And it's like, God damn, when you get one of these motherfuckers on the podcast, I'm thinking to myself, help a brother out. I'm trying to pull teeth over here, and all you got is yes or no for me. Are you able to talk your way around that now? Are you able to phrase your questions to a different degree so that you can elicit words from a person who is short with words?
I'm not great at that. Jim Ross was talking to me about that and how to do it and the notes you should take ahead of time so that you can get yourself out of a jam when you're in them. But, I usually just call the guy out. I had a guy on my podcast, and I just said, hey, Luke, at what point in this conversation did you die? Like, let me know so the corner can mark your toe tag easier. And this is a pain in the ass. I had a guy named Douglas Crosby on. He's an MMA judge. He's a smart guy. I would even call him a friend. And I mean, it's such a bad job at everything. I just called him out on it. I said, man, this is a bunch of crap. I said, I can't air this. This whole interview's crap. I said, everybody's asleep by now. And I was serious. I was red freaking hot, and it ended up doing huge numbers because I had to heel turn on him. And it did make it interesting. But, it's like, man, you're going to come on this show and give me credit. This is the number one show in MMA. Look, if you want to be a fight, you want to call somebody out, you can create a fight right here on this podcast. Dana White listens to this podcast. He gets the cliff notes. His own PR guy writes them up for him. You want to call someone out, this is the place to do it. You're going to come on here and give me crap? I'm an ESPN analyst, not for nothing, but I am a guy that can help you make a fight. I can do it right now because I've got the audience. You're going to come on here and give me nothing? I'm going to call you out on it because I have to. I have to call you out because it's got to be some kind of goddamn entertainment. Now, you do realize that we touched on you versus Brock at WrestleMania for 1 second. You got off it, and all the marks are listening right now. They think that we planted that, and they're making some kind of concession. That's going to be all over the
No, we didn't plant that. You asked that, and I got off of it.
You got right off of it, but people are going to speculate that was a plant.
I'll share a real quick story I'll share a real quick story. I think I told you this story, but anyway, Paul Heyman came on the Stone Cold podcast for WWE Network, and he took the reins over the last part of the show. All of a sudden, he asked me something about Brock and WrestleMania 32. I mentioned something about a Texas death match. Go into quick Stone Cold mode, have a flashback. All of a sudden, I'm thinking, okay, it was what it was. I'm not planning on wrestling nobody. A few days later, I'm in a dressing room at Macy's, and I'm shopping for my clothes for Broken Skull Challenge. Now, here's the thing when I shop, Chael, I don't like to shop. When I find something I like, I buy 10 or 15 of them. I wear the same shit every single day. It's a different pair, but I'm wearing the same shit. So anyway, my wife is out there. She's rounding up all the shorts. My part is just to try on the shorts in the dressing room and just say, I'll take these or I won't take these. All of a sudden, my telephone rings. I have Vince listed in my iPhone 6, VKM, all capital letters. All of a sudden, it's Mr. Vince McMahon calling me. So I'm thinking, okay, I got to answer the phone. He's either calling to tell me it was a great interview with Paul Heyman, we blew the internet up, or he's going to call and eat my ass out about making a match at WrestleMania 32 with Brock Lesnar, which was not my intention. It was the latter. So he proceeded to chew my ass out in the dressing room while I was trying on shorts for Broken Skull Challenge. And so I had to cover it on the back end, my podcast, and work my way out of the match that seemingly I had booked myself into with Paul Heyman bringing that up. So with you bringing it up, no, we weren't booking a goddamn match. But I'll tell you what, it was a real interesting moment. I said, Vince, I'll catch it on the podcast. It's an award-winning podcast everybody listens to. And so, anyway, no, Chael, I won't be at 32. I I would like to be there in attendance. You should go as well. Hey, no. I've been trying to wrap this podcast up and go home, but then let me ask you a question. Dude, you're what? You're 37, 38 years old?
38 years young.
Okay, 38 years young. I like the way you look at the glass half full.
Steroids and growth hormone.
Yeah.
Are we still recording?
Hallelujah. Yeah, but this is Thursday Unleashed show, so everything flies. Hey, I got a cycle here for a damn fly. Anyway, back to the task at hand. Hey, let's talk about you, dude. You got one more fight left in the tank? And let me follow that up with, if you don't, why don't you give pro wrestling a shot? You're still young enough to give it a shot with your understanding of the business.
I appreciate you saying that, and if you're asking Diamond Dallas Page, I'm just the right age. But the other guys don't really feel that way. I even had conversations with Vince. I've actually never spoke to Vince directly, but I say I've talked to Vince because it was from his office. And it was a number of years ago when I was getting ready to fight Anderson, and they had an interest, but he did say, "Look, we're going to have some major struggles." He said, "If you win the belt, this is no problem." He said, but if you don't, you're later than I want to get anyone started. And he said, I trust that you could wrestle in about 6 months. He said, but I think it'll take you 2 years to learn the psychology. And knowing what I know now, I think he's right. I think he is right that I underestimated that psychology that is so damn fascinating. But I can still get a pop and a rise out of those guys, and there could be some fun there. But I think, to answer your fight question directly, no. My race has been run, and I am done. But as far as wrestling goes, I think my only level of participation will be a commentator. I would prefer to get in there and wrestle, but I don't know how, and I don't think that anyone. I don't think that now is the time. I think.
Okay, but check this out. Okay. If it's not now, if it wasn't wrestling, look what they just did with that guy. I don't even know his name. Stephen Amell, the guy, the Green Arrow. He was in the tag match with Neville. From WrestleMania. I'm sorry if I'm getting the guy's name wrong, but I haven't rewatched the pay-per-view. They treated that guy right. They taught him a couple things. He did a couple of kicks. Nothing too crazy. It wasn't like when they brought the NBA guys in 10, 15 years ago, and those guys are beating the shit out of the wrestlers. So at least, they kept him in the right doses. But, dude, the way the business is today, you could probably go in there and learn a few things and get by. But, okay, let's take that out of the equation. Let's talk about Paul Heyman. I know you're a big fan of his, as I am too, just because he helped me out so much in my career, and he's just, I think, unrivaled, unparalleled on the microphone. So, but you're a guy in that same vein. What about getting into the management end, or an advocate, as Paul Heyman would be?
Yeah, and that could be a ton of fun, and I would be very open to doing something like that. Right now, I kind of have laser vision on doing some commentating and specifically helping Jeff Jarrett get this thing off the ground, and we're close. Oh, he's close. He's got so many people helping him and behind him. He's close. I think there's some real opportunity there, and I'm just going to pursue that. And I think that's the direction that I want to go because it's fun. I was one of those few guys that was given some really great opportunities, and now in retirement and just kind of making the right decisions financially. I'm lucky enough to do with my time what I want to do with my time. Instead of having to. And wrestling is something I really want to do. I genuinely want to do it. I was offered a match. I actually talked to Kurt Angle about this. He said, "Hey, come over and wrestle me." And I said, "Well, Kurt, I'm up for that, but I don't know how." And he said, "Man, I could teach you fast." He said, I could teach you everything in a number of weeks, enough that we could go out and do about a 6-minute match. And that was just the number he put on it. He said 6 minutes, so I'm quoting him. But that would have been a real thrill for me. And I don't know where that's going to go. We'll see.
And then that would be the thing working with him. And basically, you guys could and you wouldn't even call high spots. Basically, shoot, but work. And just not really incorporate high spots. And if anybody could do it, it'd damn sure be Kurt Angle, just because of you guys' background. But anyway, let's leave that for another conversation for another day. We've been talking for about an hour and 15 minutes. And let's save it. And, hey, man, let's hook up again in another couple of months. It's funny because the last time I got a chance to talk to you, man, I was green as grass. I asked you a bunch of, questions written down on a piece of paper. I was glad you called me out of the blue. It's a pleasure to have you on your show. I always like listening to you. I want to see you back on television analyzing fights. I think that's one of the greatest things that you do. And your show, you're welcome, is kicking ass. When does your show drop? It's on the PodcastOne platform, just like mine is. What night does your show drop?
Comes out every Wednesday, and oddly enough, but they drop it at midnight.
Tuesday.
So if anyone's up late, great. But yeah, midnight Tuesday. Yeah, so essentially what's that, Wednesday morning. But yeah, man, you're the man. I had a blast here. I invited myself on your show, and I appreciate you letting me come on. This is a thrill.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.
Look out! Join me every week for the Michael Irvin Podcast. The Michael Irvin Podcast, the MIP.
Now the MIP exists. The MIP.
Okay, I got to make sure you got something to show.
What? Where's Michael? He's holding out. What do you mean he's holding out?
Brian, hey, it's the Playmaker. I ain't available right now. I said the Playmaker's not available for you.
I will give you my Playmaker of the Week. Take the spotlight sometimes off of all these quarterbacks and put the spotlight on some of those guys that make the quarterbacks. T-I-R-E-D, put it together. T-I-R-E-D. I get tired. That's the love.
That's my girl, but I love right there,
What's
man.
that?
Yeah.
Download new episodes of the MIP, the Michael Irvin Podcast, every Thursday on Apple Podcasts, Podcast One, and Spotify.
That's the Michael Irvin Podcast. I am the Playmaker, Michael Irvin.